everybody, welcome to my channel where I talk about the experience of being autistic from the point of being autistic. So today's going to be kind of a short one. I've had a rough mental couple of weeks, so it's not going to be as long as some of the others. So when I was trying to think of what we could talk about today, I know that I've had people in the past ask me what certain terms were that I used because they're either discovering that they might be autistic, or there's somebody from the outside who is just trying to better understand autistic people as a whole. So I figured that would be a good idea for a video today. So I'm going to go over quite a few terms with you. First, we're going to talk about neurodiversity and who's neurodiverse. So neurodiversity is an umbrella term, and it's for anybody whose brain works differently from the norm. So this includes autism, ADHD, Tourette's, epilepsy, dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, dysgraphia, bipolar, OCD, trauma, PTSD, CPTSD, and BPD. And there's probably a few others that I didn't add to that list because it is still kind of growing for who is considered into this umbrella. So if I left anything out, I apologize, but feel free to put it in the comments if you know of any I left out on accident. And with that, we also use the term neurotypical. Neurotypical means anybody who does not fall into this umbrella and is considered the normal type of brain, which then in turn kind of goes under allistic. Allistic means simply a person who does not have autism. So allistic mainly is reference to somebody who isn't autistic, whereas neurotypical is a big umbrella term for multiple different types of brains, if that makes sense. So you'll hear people say neurotypical and allistic. I'll sometimes go back and forth, but essentially same thing, right? Except for the fact that allistic is a term based purely for people who are not autistic. So if you're ADHD, but you're not autistic, you would still fall under being allistic. And then of course we have autistic, which is basically taking in lots of information into your head. Sometimes it's too much and it can cause sensory issues. There's also masking, which if you've followed any of my other videos, I've talked about masking quite a bit. It's pretending that you're somebody else to fit in, more so than other people, because yes, can neurotypical and allistics mask? Yes, but not to the sense that anybody who is neurodiverse does. Because for us, we have to mask. We have to. We don't really have a choice in it. We have to mask to be able to survive. So if we did not mask in a lot of public spaces, we get attacked in some way. We could get fired for it because we're too much. It can ruin relationships because we're too much. So it's something that us as a group get really frustrated with when we have neurotypical people who constantly like, well, I mask too. Yeah, but not to what we have to do. It's different. Another term you'll hear for masking is urban camouflage. And I haven't heard that term a lot, but it has come up a couple of times. So you're more likely to hear masking than you are to hear urban camouflage, but it means the same thing. There's autistic burnout, which I've talked about before, when your mind and your body is just an absolute overdrive and it causes you to have a shutdown. Again, yes, neurotypicals can get burnout, but it's not the same as autistic burnout, because autistic burnout is to do with the reaction to everything. So most neurotypicals only deal with this in like maybe a work aspect. Autistics and people who are ADHD or any of these where we have to mask a lot to be able to be accepted, we go into burnout because we've done that for too long and our nervous system shuts down. So it's different, because also neurotypicals who are burned out are likely to get out of it faster. And sometimes any of us in the neurodiverse umbrella who go through this sometimes are completely disabled after this. And then of course you have ADHD, which is people who can hyper focus, who are easy to go from one topic to another, no problem, but they jump kind of constantly. And I know this is kind of confusing because sometimes those two symptoms kind of overlap, and then moves on to my next term, is that there's ADHD, which is AUDHD, which means you have both autism and ADHD. So you have all of those combined. Sometimes autism has things that can appear like ADHD symptoms and vice versa, but when you have both, it's very frustrating and debilitating, because your brain is constantly fighting between like wanting a pattern to wanting no pattern, to wanting to hyperfocus, to not wanting to hyperfocus. It's a constant battle for people that have both. Some more terms that are important to know is Audi, which is where my screen name comes from. It's just short for autistic. I've had people think that my name is saying auntie, or just being like, your name's not Autumn, why are you calling yourself Audi? It's short for autism, and you'll see that a lot in autistic communities. And then last but not least, we have autism. So when I first heard this name, I didn't know it was meant for something specific. I just thought it was another term like Audi, and I felt so doofusy for using the hashtag now that I know what it is. But again, we learn, we grow, okay? So autism is an autistic person of color. So you do not use it. If you're a white autistic, you don't get to use that term. That is specifically to POC who is autistic, so that they can find each other, because it's very important for POC to get more recognition in the autistic internet community, because you have a lot of almost more so white women now. Before it was white men. Now it's kind of seeping into mostly white women who are being heard, and that just takes away from the struggle of not only being autistic, but going through racial issues that occur on top of the autism that needs to be talked about more. It's something to really look into. I definitely tell people all the time that they need to look more into POC autistic creators. Their content needs to be pushed forward. I purposely will always, if I have a POC autistic person come across my feed on TikTok, I share, I add them, I like their content. I want to make sure people see it. And that's another thing with like lower level autistics, they also need to have their content pushed forward. So I try to do that too. If I see any lower level content needing to be pushed, but I don't see it as often, and I wish I could find it more. But yeah, I know this was a short video, but it's still something that I think is very important for people to know, and I didn't really think about it until recently when I was getting comments about like what certain terms meant. So I hope you learned a little bit from this. I'm sure there's terms that I've left out on accident, but these are the main ones you're going to see most often. And that's it for today. I hope you have a great week, and I will hopefully be back for another video next week if, you know, hopefully body and mind are functioning well, you know. But I'll see you next time. See you later, guys.